If you Google the financial data of the best-known healthcare stocks, you'll find that the PE ratio for most of them falls in the narrow range of 10 to 20-something. However, there's a standout, which by the size of its revenue and market cap is for sure among the top pharmaceutical companies. Yet its PE ratio is to the north of 200, and it's Takeda from Japan. To understand why Takeda's PE is this high, we have to begin with a common skin condition, psoriasis. Patients develop red patches covered in silvery scales, often on their elbows, knees, scalp, and back. This condition affects 3 to 4% of US adults, translated to about 8 million people in the US alone. It is particularly prevalent among white Caucasians. Prevalence rates in Nordic countries like Norway can be as high as 10%. Many people keep their distance when they see someone with psoriasis out of fear. But the condition itself is actually not contagious, much like systematic lupus erythematosus. It is an autoimmune disease triggered by genetic flaws, environmental factors, or a combination of both, causing the immune system to mistakenly attack healthy cells. While a healthy person's skin cells typically follow a 20-day cycle from birth to shedding, so old cells gradually retire and new ones take over, the process is very different for those with psoriasis. In these patients, skin cells complete the growth cycle in just 3 to 4 days. Because they are produced so rapidly, old cells don't have time to shed before new ones pile up, resulting in raised, thickened, and scale-like patches on the skin. Currently, there's no cure for this condition. The mainstream treatment, secukinumab, is administered via subcutaneous injection, similar to how a diabetic patient uses insulin. It also requires refrigeration, making it quite inconvenient for daily uses, especially if you travel a lot. Oral medications like cyclosporine, acitradin, and BMS's Sotyktu are available and more affordable. They tend to have a broader impact on the immune system and come with more side effects, often involving the liver and kidney. This is where Takeda enters the picture. Although Takeda has a strong presence in immunology, it has historically lacked a blockbuster product for oral autoimmune dermatology. Then in 2022, a drug targeting psoriasis was on Takeda's radar. The drug's research and development path broke away from a century of traditional chemical drug development. You see, in the past, chemists and pharmacologists rely on their knowledge and intuition to synthesize and test potential drug candidates, experimenting one by one with molecular interactions at target receptors. This process is both costly and time-consuming, with very low success rate. However, with the advent of AI, it's now possible to simulate and learn from that intuition. To explain how AI changes the formula, let's use the case of methamphetamine as an example. And yes, it's the meth Walter White made in Breaking Bad. You see, the chemical's benzene ring is highly hydrophobic, which significantly increases its lipid solubility and allows it to cross the blood-brain barrier fast. The methyl group on the side chain protects the molecule from being degraded by monoamine oxidase, or MAO. Additionally, the extra nitrogen methyl group attached to the amine gives the molecule even stronger lipid solubility, enabling it to reach the brain higher concentrations. You see, there's often a logical, intuitive link between chemical structures and their effects. That is why AI can be used to repeatedly learn these relationships and to develop innovative drug molecules. A leader in this field is a company called Schrödinger. They've built an AI drug discovery platform that creates digital clones of target receptors, then uses AI to guess the biochemical structures most likely to work. This is essentially reverse engineering, defining the goal first and then searching for the answer. This method not only drastically shortens R&D time, but also uncovers more effective structures than manual lab work ever could. In 2009, Schrödinger founded Nimbus Therapeutics. The name Nimbus is Latin and means cloud, reflecting its heavy reliance on Schrödinger's cloud computing capacity. Using their AI platform, the company developed a psoriasis treatment numbered NDI-034A58, which showed promising results in early clinical trials. And consequently, in 2022, Takeda acquired this drug from Nimbus for a staggering $6 billion. At the time, the entire pharmaceutical industry felt the acquisition was overpriced, too much overpriced. However, Takeda recently announced that the drug achieved outstanding results in 2 critical phase 3 clinical trials, meeting all the primary endpoints and 44 secondary endpoints for moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. For those of you unfamiliar with medical jargon, endpoints are the benchmarks set before a trial begins to judge a drug's efficacy and safety. The primary endpoint is the core metric that determines the trial's success, while secondary endpoints provide additional data on safety and efficacy compared to existing market leaders. Specifically, over 50% of subjects achieved nearly clear skin after 4 months, and about 30% achieved 100% total clearance. These results show a definitive advantage of the drug over current oral and injectable mainstream treatments, with a safety profile that is equally reassuring. Common adverse reactions were limited to mild upper respiratory infections. Common adverse reactions were limited to mild upper respiratory infections, nasopharyngitis, and acne. Takeda plans to submit its new drug application, or NDA, in the 2026 fiscal year, which for the company begins in April. And given the drug's performance in clinical trials, it is highly likely to receive priority review status from the FDA. The projected timeline is as follows. And then a prediction of its sales after hitting the market. Its sales will climb rapidly in the beginning 4 years and reach a peak of approximately $5 billion in 2032. And by the way, Takeda renamed the drug after the acquisition as TAK-279. After that, its sales are expected to plateau, with future fluctuations depending on the success of approval for treatments for other major conditions like ulcerative colitis and systematic lupus erythematosus. Beyond 2040, its sales will likely decline rapidly due to patent expirations and the emergence of generics. So looking at the long-term bigger picture, Takeda's $6 billion acquisition not only seems reasonably priced, but it may also go down as one of the most successful acquisitions in pharmaceutical history. This explains why Takeda's PE ratio exceeds 200, despite having an EPS of only 7 cents over the past 12 months. And by the way, the accounting standards in almost all the major countries forbid pharmaceutical companies to capitalize its new drugs' R&D costs. And that explains a lot why Takeda's EPS is that low, because the huge costs tied to the clinical trials are eating away its revenue. To make the bottom line even worse, in 2019, Takeda acquired Ireland's largest pharmaceutical company, Shire, and because Shire's market cap was 2 times that of Takeda's, Takeda had to raise a lot of debt and ultimately paid $62 billion to close that acquisition, and incurred huge amortization costs annually ever since. But these amortization costs do not affect its cash flows. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.